Konnichiwa, back again, and today we've got more packages. I've had to remove the label just so I don't get told off. This one, as you might be able to guess, is from the US. And shall we take a look inside? Now, I've already opened these up just because I was too excited to really do an unboxing at the time. But I thought I'd show you what I got. Came in nice anti-static bubble wrap, and also for some reason it came in this, which is, I think is a Sears catalogue. I'm not sure. It's all in dollars. So anyway. If we open up the anti-static, it goes upside down, and it is this. This is a, let's focus, Namco V185 IO PCB, and you might be wondering what this is for. This has got a PLD on it, it's got a Namco custom chip on it, ROM, connector, that's a Darlington transistor pair, that's like a four-way one, and it's got an S-video connector on it. It's got the sort of some more I/O connectors and sort of another connector around here. And what is this board? What is this board for? You might be asking. Why, it's from this board. This is the, when it loads, V185B EMI PCB. This, if you might be able to tell, is Time Crisis 2, made by Namco. It's one of my favourite games. I might have seen this in a previous video. The thing is, you can use a Crisis Zone I/O board on Time Crisis, and it does, for the most part, work, but the accuracy is way off because this is expecting to read the CRT scans, this is expecting to use a camera, so it might be a future video to see if the I/O board from this will work on that. I'm pretty sure it will, but you will see. But yeah, so I finally got the I/O board for this game, which is great, so I'll be trying to get that working as soon as possible. But there's a problem with that, and that is that this board uses this, what is this, 12-pin connector, which is a, what's it, a TI or TE connector, I can't remember what it is, Tyco Electronics or Connectivity, something like that, and it's a, this is basically the connector that goes to the I/O board, and I know the pinout of this, not off by heart, but I know the pinout. The only problem being, the pinout for this doesn't match up with my Crisis Zone I/O PCB. That is because this Crisis Zone PCB, or the Raise I/O PCB, your one may differ. This is just from the deluxe cab. The standard cab actually comes in a form factor pretty much similar to this, but slightly different. This one has loads of connectors. This is the power, this I don't know is not used, this I don't know it's not used, this, that's the camera connector, that is the general input like coin service, all of that stuff. This is your pedal and your gun select, so if you've got two of these next to each other you put these on so it doesn't glitch up. This is your gun connector and this is your JVS. On this one, your power, your JVS and 24 volts and pretty much everything is in that connector. I/O panel, step, and the gun select and the gun connector, because of course these guns use, rather this game uses this gun, which is the typical Namco kickback recoil gun, and if you notice on the gun connector it's a 6-pin type, whereas on the Crisis Zone one, actually it is a 6-pin type, isn't it? No, here's the connectors. You've got 3 connectors. You've got one for the actual I/O, one for power, which is 5 volt and 24 volt, and one for the ground, which you don't have on this, you just have the single 6-pin. And yes, this is a female and that's a female, so I can't plug that into that, but the I/O from Time Crisis, oh don't you love these jump cuts, that's the wrong one, bing, right one. This is the I/O, this is the wiring harness from Time Crisis. You see it's got a G here for the gun, and yes, this one actually will work because there's the two little I/O harnesses here, and obviously the pinout is identical. Why change the pinout? So there we go, and then I could in theory just connect that straight up to the gun if this thing doesn't want to come off. Excuse me. So there we go, so this I/O board, I pretty much have most of the wiring, I just don't have the wiring from the I/O board to the I/O board to the game board, but hopefully I can source some. It's not like I can't make my own connector, I just would rather see if I can get the original wiring first, but as soon as I get the original wiring I am so trying this. Anyway, I'll go put this stuff away and move straight on to the second box. This one came from a member on Jammer Plus, actually. I cannot remember the name off the top of my mind. I think it was like Black Tiger. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, shall we open it? Yeah, well, I've pretty much already opened it, but you know, same effect applies. Comes in like a sort of kind of custom shoe box, which is pretty strange. I've not seen that type of box before. Anyway, let's see what's here. Oh, and yes, it's got styrofoam. I hate styrofoam. It just leaves a mess everywhere. We open up all of this thing, and yes, this is another one where I've already opened it and done some work. But you know, same effect. We just take this thing out. I'll show what it is. It's a huge run board. That's not an arcade board, but it's a huge board. To give you a comparison, here's a typical hard drive, the 3-inch hard drive. It is flaming huge. And I mean, the PCB itself comes out to about here, so you can imagine it's a big board, and it's about that thick. Still want one. Anyway, what game is this, I hear you ask? Well, if we zoom into this logo, you'll see it's got written Sonic, and it's by Sega. Now, this is a kind of oddity game. Yes, Sonic was released to the arcades in two forms. One was Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, which is on the System 32 board, which is another one I want to get, but that's quite rare, I can imagine. So if I ever find one, I'm buying it, but you know, just waiting to see if I can find it. This one, however, is the latter, which is Sonic Fighters, the Fighters, or Sonic Championship. I'm not sure which one it is, because obviously I don't have the motherboard. But yeah, this one's a really sort of oddity game, because it was released in the arcades, did kind of poorly. You know, not as in, not as in like no one liked it, but it's just like an oddity game. It didn't play very well. It was like more of a basic-y fighter game, but yeah, just not so much. You didn't hear about it so much. And then they didn't make a. They were going to make a console port for the Sega Saturn, but that never happened. So yeah, this game never got a release outside the arcade, except for in the, what was it, 2004, 2005, when they released Sonic Mega Collection, and that came with it. It was either Sonic, no, it was Sonic Gems Collection. I apologise, and that came with Sonic the Fighters on it. So it was the first time it ever got a console arcade port, and then again we've never heard from it again. So kind of strange, and yeah, this is just a ROM board only. I replaced a lot of these caps. You'll notice that they're not similar. These are all 470 at 16 volts, but there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, and I did that because the caps on the top were kind of, yeah, they looked awful, to be honest. So I've replaced them. These are low ESR ones, and these are just ones I got from Maplins, because that's all I had in stock. But yeah, so it's kind of oddity game, and I don't have a board. I'd love to show you it, but again, I don't have a board. What I do need, though, now to get Zoom Model 2B CRX. So if anyone has a Model 2B CRX motherboard, PM me. Anyway, using the power of emulation, shall we see what this game is really like? Winners don't use drugs. I apologise, it's on my LCD, but I can't do much about it. Don't use CRT. And yes, that said Robotnik. And there we go, Sonic Championship. Great little obscure game made by Sega in 1996, and you can see it's just really, it looks really strange, but it's a lot of fun to play, and it's just typical fighting. Get the health all the way down, and you've got time limit. You can, I think on this one, even if someone's already got like 2 or 3 points, it'll still let you play until like someone gets complete bar, which is strange. Yeah, maybe I am too, but it's just one of those really strange games. You don't hear about it anymore. And yeah, I just find it really interesting, and when I saw this for sale I thought I've got to have that, because it's just so odd. And yes, you've got weird characters like Amy, the old style Amy here, and we've got, oh, what's his name? Oh, Fang. He's one of the new ones. The previous one, by the way, was I've even forgotten his name, but basically he's from another arcade game called Dynamite Ducks. So there you go. Just see if we can see any more odd characters. And yes, he uses a cork gun. Apparently some of these characters went into Sonic the comic. Again, I don't know, because I don't read the comic. And there we go, winners don't use drugs. And there we go, Sega. I'm going to pause it there because I've got the power of emulation. But yeah, Sonic Fighters, brilliant little obscure thing, and it just works on the Model 2C board, no, 2B board, sorry. And I've got to get one because this is a fun game. Problem is, of course, that Model 2 games, they require a 24K monitor. Now, but that's not so much of an issue to me, because if you've seen my previous endeavours, you'll notice I got the what is it, ESO Flexi Scan, which is a 24K monitor, which is brilliant. I showed Gauntlet running on it. It had a little weird jailbar thing, but I think that's actually the game board rather than the screen. But yeah, want to get a Model 2B board. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting pickup. Also, some other details is that it actually uses the Sega SCSP soundboard, which is basically a soundboard based on Sega Saturn's sound processor, which is a Yamaha chip, really just rebadged, but you know, go figure. That one also I'll need to get, so I do need to get a couple of things, but you know, it's quite a nice ROM board, and there was a Model 2 for sale, but I just don't have the resources. And the final note is that this was the first Sonic 3D game. Yes, it was the first. Although you had Sonic 3D before it, that was just 2.5 isometric sprites. This was the first 3D graphics Sonic game that Sega released, and what a sort of odd failure that was. I mean, the next one I think was Sonic Adventure, but you know, just full of interesting info in this single ROM board, and yet not many people know about it. Anyway, that's all for me. Bye.